And we are live, ladies and gentlemen. We are live. Oh, sorry, I've been tearing around. Oh, I have a cat here who's helping. Charbonneau is here to help. Yeah, he's helping by sitting right on the book right now. Excellent, Charbo. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, it is a joy to be here. I've been tearing around today. The most recent thing I was tearing around doing was we've got Livingston Taylor and Carla Bonoff coming to town uh, on Saturday, this upcoming Saturday. If you're in the Bellows Falls area, be sure to get your tickets to Livingston Taylor and Carla Bonoff. It's going to be a great show. Anyway, I'm having to make their hotel reservations, right? And there's three people. There's the guitar player, Sean McHugh. There is Livingston, and there is Carla. Now, great world leaders would be able to solve this problem really quickly. This is exactly the kind of thing that I get extremely neurotic about. Months ago, I reserved 3 hotel rooms. They were $180 each. And then, knowing that very often hotel room rates change, I did the refundable sort of hotel room rates. And I checked tonight and I can get them for $121 plus tax. And so I canceled the previous reservations and made the new reservations. And the problem is when you do that online, I said I wanted 3 rooms, but it only gave me 1 room. Charbonneau wants me to be patting him, not gesturing at the screen. It wants you to only book 1 room at a time. So I booked 1 room, and then I called the hotel, and they were like, "Oh, you've got to call the national office because you made the reservation online." So I called the national office, and they were very nice and made a second reservation for the other 2 rooms. Then I said, "I'm not staying there. I need." Yes, Charbonneau. I need to attach these names to the hotel rooms. And they were like, "Okay, we can do that. What names do you want to attach?" So I attached the names, but this is where a great leader would not do this. I put Sean McHugh's name on the reservation that I had made earlier. And then I put Carla Bonoff and Livingston Taylor's name on the reservation I made over the phone with a nice lady in Singapore or wherever she was. So those both have the same reservation, and Sean McHugh has a different reservation. And now I am convinced, this is the kind of thing I obsess about, I am now convinced that they are going to arrive. The additional names won't have been put on the reservation. They'll all be sitting there under my name. Now, these people do not know me from Adam. They're not going to remember that the promoter's name is Charlie Hunter. So, and what I should have done, Sean McHugh is Carla Bonoff's guitar player. I should have put the Carla Bonoff and Sean McHugh rooms together and Livingston Taylor be the other room, but I didn't. And this is driving me nuts. And that's why I'm late getting here. I don't think Joe Biden spends his time worrying about hotel reservations as much as I do. Anyway, Charbo, I'm a little scared you're going to sit on the keyboard and then bad things could happen. In fact, bad things have happened in that I can no longer see the comments. Okay, there we go. All right. Hi, everybody. It's lovely to have my blathering is during the time of my blathering. We have 19 people watching, so we better get going. Charbo, please, you're not helping. You're not helping. You're going to knock something over, and it's going to be a huge mess. All right, let's see. The liberal snowplowing liberal do-gooder liberal snowplowing do-gooder beneficiary tonight. World Central Kitchen, because human beings are awful to one another, ladies and gentlemen. Human beings are terrible. And World Central Kitchen at least tries to give them a sandwich, which is better than a lot of what else goes on. And so we've raised about $200 for them. If we can raise a couple of $100 and every time I do one of these readings, that is a joyous thing. And I am so grateful to you guys for week after week helping out. It's a great thing. So as a special, as we get into the holidays, we're going to have both unglets, both the current unglet and the alumni unglet. So I really like the sound they made when they started undulating together, ululating together. So tonight we have to thank out there in Fulton, Missouri, as she keeps watch over the sheep. Very, very Christmassy. Ms. Carol Fulkerson. Our artist, our Charbonneau is now sitting in front of the screen, staring at it, blocking my view of everything. The great artist friend, Ms. Catherine Fisher. Here we go. Out there in Omaha, Nebraska, the one, the only, Mr. John T. Wilhelm. In Saxon's River, keeping watch over the raging waters of the Saxon's River itself, the wonderful Martha Rowley. In Bellows Falls, getting banned from Facebook every few moments, our good friend, Mr. Rick Gavatsky. Oh, another painter friend, wonderful, wonderful artist, the great Lily Lauren. In Cincinnati, Ohio, keeping the Bengals at bay, the one, the only, Mr. J. T. Mayer. The peripatetic, ever traveling, sometimes in Turkey, sometimes on the high seas, occasionally in St. Louis. The excellent Ms. Terry Hudson. Very good friend of Terry Hudson's. Good friend of mine, good person altogether. The famous A. Nani Moose. And out there in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, where the Harry and David's Royal Riviera pears grow, my very, 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 very tall cousin, Mr. Nat Hunter, his wonderful wife, Elise, and their little dog, Ginger. Thank you all so much. Thank you all so much. Now, Charbonneau, come here. Oh, all right. Charbo, there's flopping going on in front of me. Something is going to break. All right. I hope you all can see his little head in front of me. He's a very sweet cat. We love him very much. A Good Old-Fashioned Christmas by Robert Benchley. Sooner or later, at every Christmas party, just as things are getting good, someone shuts his eyes, puts his head back, and moans softly, "Ah, well, this isn't like the old days. We don't seem to have any good old-fashioned Christmases anymore." To which the answer from my corner of the room is, "All right, that suits me." Just what they have in mind when they say an old-fashioned Christmas. You never can pin them down to telling. Lots of snow, they mutter, and lots of food. Yet, if you work it right, you can still get plenty of snow and plenty of food today. You can get plenty of snow at any rate. Then there seems to be some idea of the old-fashioned Christmas being of necessity in the country. It doesn't make any difference whether you were raised on a farm or whether your idea of rural Christmases were gleaned from pictures in old copies of Harper's Young People. You must give folks to understand that such were the surroundings in which you spent your childhood holidays. And that, me, those days will never come again. Well, supposing you get your wish sometime, supposing, let us say, your wife's folks who live up in East Russet, Vermont, write and ask you to come up, bring the children for a good old-fashioned Christmas. Well, quote, we are all still together, end quote. They add cheerily with their flair for putting everybody in a good humor. Hooray, hooray, off to the country for Christmas. Pack up all the warm clothes in the house, for you will need them up there where the air is clear and cold. Snowshoes, yeah, put them in, or better yet, Daddy will carry them. What fun. Take along some sleigh bells to jangle in case there aren't enough on the pung. There must be jangling sleigh bells. And whiskey for frostbite. Or is it snake bite that whiskey is for? Anyway, put it in. We're off. Goodbye, all. Goodbye. Jangle, jangle, jangle. Jangle, 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 jangle. In order to get to East Russet, you take the Vermont Central as far as Twitchell's Falls, and you change there for Torpid River Junction, where a spur line takes you right in to Gormley. At Gormley, you're met by a buckboard, which takes you back to Torpid River Junction again. By this time, a train or something has come in, which will wait for the local from Beezus. While waiting for this, you will have time to send your little boy to school so that he can finish 3rd grade. At East Russet, Grandpa meets you with the sleigh. The bags are piled in, and Mother sits in front with Lester in her lap, while Daddy takes Junior and Gaga in back with him in the luggage. Giddy up, Esther girl. Esther girl giddy ups, and 2 suitcases immediately fall out. Hi ho, hi ho. Out we get, we pick them up, brushing the snow off and filling our cuffs with it as we do so. After all, there's nothing like snow for getting up one's cuffs. Good, clean snow never hurt anyone, which is lucky. Which is lucky because after you've gone a mile or so, you discover that Gaga is missing. Never mind, she's a self-reliant little girl, and she will doubtless find her way to the farm by herself. Probably she'll be there waiting for you when you arrive. The farm is situated on a hill about 1,100 miles from the center of town, just before you get into Canada. If there's a breeze in winter, they get it. But what do they care for breezes, so long as they have the little Colonel oil heater in the front room to make everything cozy and warm within a radius of 4 inches. And the big open fireplace with the draft coming down it, oh, that is fun for everybody. You are just driving up to the farmhouse in the sleigh with your entire right leg frozen where the lap robe has slipped out. Grandma is waiting for you at the door, and you bustle in, all glowing with good cheer. Merry Christmas, Grandma. Lester is cross. Junior is asleep and has to be dragged by the hand upstairs, bumping against each step all the way. It is so late you decide that you all might as well go to bed, especially as you learn that breakfast is served at 4:30. It's usually at 4, but Christmas being a holiday, everybody sleeps late. As you reach the top of the stairs, you get into a current of cold air, which is something of the quality of the temperature in a nice, well-regulated crypt. This is the bedroom zone, and in it the thermometer I laugh at this because my great aunt's house was very similar to this. This is the bedroom zone, and in it, the thermometer never tops the 0 mark from October 15th until the middle of May. Those rooms in which no one sleeps are used to store perishable vegetables in, and someone has to keep thumbing the tomatoes and pears every so often to prevent their getting so hard that they crack. The way to get undressed for bed in one of Grandpa's bedrooms is as follows. Starting from the foot of the stairs where it is warm, run up two at a time to keep the circulation going as long as possible. Opening the bedroom door with one hand, tear down the curtains from the window with the other, pick up the rugs from the floor, and snatch the spread from the top of the bureau. Pile all of these on the bed, cover with the closet door which you have wrenched from its hinges, and leap quickly underneath. It sometimes helps to put on a pair of rubbers over your shoes. And even when you're in bed, you have no guarantee of going to sleep. Grandpa's mattresses seem to contain the overflow from the silo, corn husks, baked potato skins, and long stringy affairs which feel like pipe cleaners. On a cold night, snuggling down into these is about like snuggling down into a bed of damp pine cones out in the forest. Then there are things abroad in the house. Shortly after you get into bed, the stairs start snapping. Next, something runs along the roof over your head. You say to yourself, "Don't be silly. It's only Santa Claus." Then it runs along in the wall behind the head of the bed. Santa Claus would not do that. Down the long hall which leads into the L of the house, you can hear the wind sighing softly with the occasional reassuring bang of a door. The unmistakable sound of someone dying in great pain rises from just below the windowsill. It is sort of a low moan with just a touch of strangulation in it. Perhaps Santa has fallen off the roof. Perhaps that story you once heard about Grandpa's house having been a hangout for revolutionary smugglers is true, and one of the smugglers has come back for his umbrella. The only place at a time like this is down under those bedclothes. But the children become frightened and demand to be taken home, and Grandpa has to be called to explain that it's only Bluebell out in the barn. Bluebell has asthma, and on a cold night they have to be very patient with her. Christmas morning dawns cloudy and cold, with the threat of plenty more snow. And after all, what would Christmas be without snow? You lie in bed for 1 hour and a quarter, trying to figure out how you can get up without losing the covers from around you. A glance at the water pitcher shows that it's time for them to put the red ball up for skating. You think of the nice warm bathroom at home, and you decide you can wait until you get back there before shaving. This breaking the ice in the pitcher seems to be a feature of the early lives of all great men and women when they look back on which they look back on with tremendous satisfaction. When I was a boy, I used to have to break the ice in the pitcher every morning before I could wash, is said with as much pride as one might say, "When I was a boy, I stood at the head of the class." Just what virtue is there in having to break ice in a pitcher is not evident unless it lies in their taking the bother to break the ice and wash at all. Anytime that I have to break ice in a pitcher as a preliminary to washing, I go unwashed. That is all. And Benjamin Franklin and Ulysses S. Grant and Rutherford B. Hayes can laugh as much as they want. I am nobody's fool about a thing like that. Getting the children dressed is a lot of fun when you have to keep pumping their limbs up and down to keep them from freezing stiff. The children love it and are just as bright and merry as little pixies when it is time to go downstairs and say good morning to Grandpa and Grandma. The entire family enters the dining room, purple, chattering, and extremely cross. After breakfast, everyone begins getting dinner. The kitchen, being the only warm place in the house, may have something to do with it. But before long, there's so many potato peelings and turkey feathers and squash seeds and floating bits of pie crust in that kitchen that the women folks send you and the children off into the front part of the house to amuse yourselves and get out of the way. Then what a jolly time you and the kiddies and Grandpa have together. You can either slide on the horsehair sofa or play the wayside chapel on the piano. The piano has scroll work on either side of the music rack with yellow silk showing through. Or look out the window and see 10 miles of dark gray snow. Perhaps you may even go to the barn and look at the horses and cows. But really, as you walk down between the stalls and you've seen one horse or one cow, you've really kind of seen them all. And besides, the cold in the barn has an added flavor of damp harnessed leather and musty carriage upholstery, which eats into your very marrow. Of course, there are the presents to be distributed, but that takes on much the same aspect as the same ceremony in the new-fashioned Christmas, except in the really old-fashioned Christmases, the presents weren't so tricky. Children got mostly mittens and shoes, with a sled thrown in sometimes for dissipation. Where a boy today is bored by 3 o'clock in the afternoon with his electric grain elevator and miniature pond with real perch in it, the old-fashioned boy was lucky if he got a copy of Naval Battles of the War of 1812 and an orange. Now, this feature is often brought up in praise of the old way of doing things. I tell you, says Uncle Clarence, the children in my time never got such presents as you do today. And he seems proud of the fact, as if there was some virtue accruing to him for it. If the children of today can get electric grain elevators and tin automobiles for Christmas, why aren't they that much better off than their grandfathers, who got only wristlets? Learning the value of money, which seems to be the only argument of the stand patters, doesn't hold very much water as a Christmas slogan. The value of money can be learned in just about 5 minutes when the time comes, but Christmas is not the season. But let's return to the farm where you and the kiddies and Gramps are killing time. You can either bring in wood from the woodshed, or thaw out the pump, or read the books in the bookcase over the writing desk. Of the three, bringing in the wood will probably be the most fun, as you're likely to burn yourself thawing out the pump. And the list of reading matter on hand includes The Life and Deeds of General Grant, Our First Century, Andy's Trip to Portland, bound volumes of the Jersey Cattle Breeders Gazette, and Disease of the Horse. Then there's some old copies of Round the Lamp for the years 1850 to 1854, and some colored plates showing plans for the approaching World's Fair in Chicago. Thus the time passes in one round of gaiety after another until you're summoned to dinner. Here, all cavilling must cease. The dinner lives up to the advertising. If an old-fashioned Christmas could consist entirely of dinner without the old-fashioned bedrooms, the old-fashioned pitcher, the old-fashioned entertainments, we professional pessimists would not have a turkey leg left to stand on. But, as has been pointed out, it is possible to get a good dinner without going up to East Russet, Vermont, or if it isn't, then our civilization has been a failure. And the dinner only makes the aftermath worse. According to an old custom of the human race, everyone overeats. Deliberately, and with considerable gusto, you sit at the table and say pleasantly, "Oh my, but I won't be able to walk after this. Oh, just a little more of that dark meat, please, Grandpa. And just a dab of stuffing. Oh dear, that's too much." You haven't the excuse of the drunkard who becomes oblivious to his excesses after several drinks. You know what you are doing, and yet you make light of it, and even laugh about it, as long as you can laugh without splitting out a seam. After that, you sit and moan. If you're having a good new-fashioned Christmas, you'd go out to the movies or take a walk or a ride. But to be really old-fashioned, you must stick close to the house. For in the old days, there were no movies, there were no automobiles, and if you wanted to take a walk, you had to have the hired man go ahead of you with a snow shovel and make a tunnel. There are probably plenty of things to do in the country today, and just as many automobiles and electric lights as there are in the city. But you can't call Christmas with all these improvements an old-fashioned Christmas. That's cheating. If you're going through with the thing right, you've got to retire to the sitting room after dinner and just sit. Of course, you can go out and play in the snow if you want to, but you know as well as I do that this playing in the snow is all right when you are small, but a bit trying on anyone over 30. And anyway, it always begins to snow along about 3 in the afternoon of a good old-fashioned Christmas, with a cheery old leaden sky overhead and a jolly old gale sweeping around the corners of the house. No, you simply must sit indoors in front of a fire if you insist, but nevertheless with nothing much to do. The children are sleepy and snarly. Grandpa is just sleepy. Someone tries to start the conversation, but everyone else is too gorged with food to be able to move the lower jaw sufficiently to articulate. It develops that the family is in possession of the loudest ticking clock in the world. Along about 4 o'clock, it begins to break its own record. A stenographic report of the proceedings would read as follows. "Oh, I'm sleepy. I shouldn't have eaten so much. Tick-tock, 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 tick-tock. Seems just like Sunday, doesn't it? Look at Grandpa, he's asleep. Junior, don't plague Grandpa, let him sleep. Tick-tock, 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 tick-tock. Junior, let Grandpa alone. Do you want Mama to take you upstairs?" Oh, tick-tock, 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 tick-tock. Louder and louder the clock ticks until something snaps in your brain. You give a sudden leap into the air with a scream, finally descending to strangle each of the family in turn and Grandpa as he sleeps. Then, as you feel your end is near, all the warm things you have ever known come back to you in a flash. You remember the hot Sunday subway to Coney Island, your trip to Mexico, the bullfighters of Spain. You dash out into the snowdrifts and you plunge along until you sink exhausted. Only the fact that this article ends here keeps you from freezing to death with an obituary the next day that reads, "Died suddenly at East Russet, Vermont, of a good old-fashioned Christmas. All right, ladies and gentlemen. All right, that's Benchley Night for this week. Coming up next week, we'll have, we're getting close to Edith's Christmas Burglar and the Birds' Christmas Carol. And no, Virginia, there isn't a Santa Claus. I don't know what we'll be choosing, but it'll be something good. You take good care out there. Excuse me, Charbonneau. You take good care out there, and we'll see you next week.